Welcome everybody to Murdock, Manwaring and Cardon, the real estate team at eXp Realty. We are talking about the real estate market update for the month of May. We are in June, but we are talking about last month. What happened in Southeast Idaho? So thanks for tuning in with us. By the way, we're going to do a little quick overview of the numbers, but if you'd like to dig deep, all you got to do is go to mmcidaho.com. Click at the top, get the newsletter, and we'll send this out to you with a copy of the video, but also all the data. So if that interests you, go in there and get that signed up. And by the way, if you got your recent tax assessment for your property value and you're wondering how you can dispute that or how does that work, stay tuned toward the end because we're going to talk about how that works. So let's dive in. Again, we're going to start out with a combo of Bingham, Bonneville, and Jefferson counties here for the May stats, combining them because this is the major part of our area. And I think this is super interesting. Taking a look, home sales for May of 2025 versus May of 2024. So month over month, we're up a little bit in home sales over last year in May. We're up quite a bit in new listings. And I think we're feeling that.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Quite a bit. I think people are seeing lots more inventory. And that kind of moves us to when there's more inventory, buyers can take their time. So that drives us right to days on market going up. So again, take a look. That 65-day on market versus 41. Sellers are going to feel that. Sellers are going to feel that and feel that weight of expecting a little bit longer. And of course, home prices have been on the rise always. It's so interesting. Very rarely do we ever see the price of homes go down, which really means real estate's always a great investment. Always a great investment over time. Yep. So absorption rate, I just wanted to hit on this a little bit. Notice the absorption rate 2 months, that's what the 2 stands for, versus 4.4. Anybody want to touch on what that means? Because that's significant.
Well, it means the market is softening. There's more inventory. There's inventory sitting longer. Buyers have more to choose from, which means we are pretty dang close. And we are already in many price ranges, but we're pretty close to a balanced market.
Yep.
It's, yeah, and you can feel it. I mean, homes don't sell as quick. I'm seeing a lot more price drops, having to compete a lot more.
Yeah. And I think for sellers, we were in such an extreme buyer's market. If you bought or sold in our crazy unique time of 2021, 2020, you're going to feel like this is a buyer's market. But in reality, we are in more of a balanced market. I mean, it can go further than this. So be prepared. Let's take a look at the year to date. So this is an interesting stat. Home sales year to date, January through May of this year versus last year, exactly the same. How often does that happen?
Yeah, a little slower for the first few months, but May caught us up and we are flat.
We are flat. But new listings year to date, that's a heavy hitter. That's a heavy hitter. So take a look at that. That new listings year to date, that means our inventory is growing. Our inventory is growing. Now, there's an interesting stat on this one. The original list is sold. What this really means is what price you start at versus what price you sell at. How far can you expect on average to come down? So if you're a buyer, this might be important. Any buyer's agent? Nicole, you want to explain why this might benefit a buyer to know this stat? Original list is sold.
Well, just if you're looking at a bunch of different houses, is it priced correctly? Do I have to offer full market value? Am I going to have other options? There's a million things it could mean.
Yeah. I think a lot of buyers say, let's come in low. I want to come in low, right? I want to offer low. And when you look at this and say in May of 2025, year to date, the original price versus the sale price is still 3.7%. So at 3.7% on an average home of 400,000, that's around $12,000 to $13,000. So if you say I want to come in low and offer 20 or 30 grand under.
So on a $450,000 house, 98.57% would be the equivalent of like 443.
Mm-hmm. What about the 96?
$7,000 off. 96 would be 430.
So say those numbers again, Chad.
So basically, I mean, it's 1.5 and a little over 3. But if a house was on the market for 450, it would go for about 443. And that's from original list to sold. And at 96.32, it'd be about 430. So about 20 grand off, which
20
means they're
grand.
pricing them about 20 grand high because that's original. Usually they're doing a price drop and they're still getting pretty close to list price, but they're having to do a price drop or two now, which will change because we're going to get used to the market and price them better. But yeah, they're going lower.
So, and I think that when you look at this and combine these stats on how you might say this applies to me, if average days on market is 63 and our average original list is sold, if you're trying to low bid under 63, when it hasn't been on the market 63 days, the likelihood that seller is going to take a low bid under this is pretty low. Because on average, they're expecting to be on the market 60 days and they're only expecting to come down 3%. If you're offering 10 or 20% low under at 2 weeks on market, the likelihood that that offer is going to go, this is of course advice from your own buyer's agent, but that's how you might look at this on, how should I be offering? That's my advice. So, anybody else have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, interesting. The number of solds last year is the same as this year, like to the number. I mean,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
That is crazy.
But look at the absorption rate. So last year, we were higher absorption rate in months, year to date, but had the same number of sales because we had way less listings. I mean, I'm not, I don't understand that exactly. What I think is that we got a bunch of new listings in the last month or two, and that absorption rate is going to be increasing in the coming months, right? Because there's not a lot of new buyers, but there's a bunch of new sellers. And the scale goes back and forth, it's the absorption rate will increase if we don't have home sale number increases with it. So
Yeah, I agree with that. And last year, rates were higher. So it's kind of an interesting anomaly on that absorption rate. If rates were higher, so maybe that's why there was a little more, it was a little slower on the buyer side, and now we're a little bit better rate. It all kind of factors together. Yeah, for sure. So let's take a quick look at just the counties. A little overview of what's going on with the counties because I think there's an interesting stat in here. So this is Bingham County. Let's get up to where I want to start. Bonneville County. So here's just Bonneville County for the month of May. So this isn't year to date. This is month of May. Seeing home sales down. It's pretty close to flat. Jeremy, why don't you take it from here?
yeah, new listings is up 34% from last year though this month. And I don't know if we've caught up so far in any of the other stats because these have just been coming on in the last weeks. And so we're looking at, past months and trying to anticipate what's coming forward. So, but we haven't seen a big price deduction or reduction. We may see that if inventory continues to hit the market, sellers need to sell, buyers aren't buying. Price is about the only remedy to get houses to sell at the end of the day.
I think that number is a little skewed though, because we are seeing, I think, a softening in that average sales price range, but we're also seeing some higher priced homes sell at a pretty strong price. And I think our average sales price is only increasing because there is a segment of our market that's not as much price conscious to rate. And those
Yeah.
higher price homes are selling, making our average up. But we'll see on this next slide. I mean, there's a lot of inventory in that $300,000 to $350,000 range.
Yeah.
Yeah, you zoom into that, Jessica, or just to highlight it, or just focus on it. That 3 to 350 range in Bonneville County is what we're looking at. That right now there's 91 active listings. Average days on market is 57. There's only 35 pendings, and so if you think about 91 and 35 is the monthly number of buyer closings, if nothing else comes to the market, that's 3 months, right? So it's 3 months of inventory.
Well, this one, right? Yeah, this one. These are the pendings here, just
Yeah,
sitting on there. If that closes, yeah, it's
if it
interesting.
closes, yeah. So it could change, but another thing we want to talk about a little bit is the fallout rate. Every pending We typically over the years want it to be 10, 14%. That's what we've seen it. Sometimes close to 18 or 20. Right now, we're about 40% of every buyer and seller that actually get into a contract and agree, and this is overall market, 40% of those fail.
Jeremy, don't you put our team in that bucket. You said we. Our team does not have a 40% fallout rate. So make sure you choose your realtor wisely.
Yeah.
We do have a much smaller fallout rate, but we are a part of the MLS with these stats. But yeah, and I think a lot of that is, I mean, granted, there's deals that are going to fall apart. Things happen, but I think a lot of it's just being prepared as a buyer, being prepared and set the proper expectations with your agents. And a lot of these deals don't need to fall apart. It's just a stressful time in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the last 6 months, just going on that line again, Jessica, the same price point. There's 35 pending right now, but the last 6 months, we've only seen 98 close. So in there is a little bit of that fallout rate, right? Because some of those pendings are not going to make it. 6 months, not 3 months of inventory. It's 5 and 6. Yeah.
It's interesting to see that inventory level in the midst of this.
Yeah.
Because this is a hot price point for our area. So it's interesting to see this as a kind of a little anomaly.
Yeah.
And it's right.
And over 500,000 now, every segment is in a buyer's market.
Over 450. Look at it, starts at 450, 5.5.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to sell your house in the 450 to the, what's the next top
Million.
Million, it's a little bit tougher for sellers right now.
You got to look the best.
Yep, it's a little bit tougher.
Yeah, condition is very important right now. Condition is very important. Yep. Look at the number of active listings. It's heavy versus what's pending. So you can look at that 5 to 6. It's still, they're doing pretty good. They're, having those pendings, but you start to look at how many homes are under contract versus how many are on the market. It is a heavy game of having to look the best, especially above 600.
Yeah, you're competing with a lot of nice homes in there.
Yep, a lot of nice homes.
So let's talk about that. A lot of nice homes. What if your home is nice, but not as nice as what the assessor says, Chad? Everyone got their tax notice recently.
Yeah, everybody got their notice.
The assessor says, that's great, Chair. My house isn't that nice. My house is awful.
How do we know, man? I could never sell my house for that much, but that's what they're taxing you on. What do you do?
Yeah. So every 5 years, Idaho state law says that the assessor has to reestablish value on your property. And sometimes we see that in increments. Sometimes we see big jumps. Sometimes we see, and big jumps can be frustrating. And we also see big jumps, just in whether it's yearly or whatever. But I mean, the price is going higher and the market's going higher. What really matters, though, is can we sell the property for the price that the assessor has it at? If we don't think we could, then we're probably overvalued. And I think you have a case to dispute it with the assessor. If the property value went up, but you're still considerably undervalued, I would caution you not to dispute that because, you might get your value up to market value. And so if you really want to do that. And so everybody has on the notice that you have, it says that we have a certain amount of time in June to be able to dispute values. For example, in Bonneville
Chad,
County.
before you go on from that, this is supposed to be market value.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going in, I don't think it's worth it. It's market value. So that's the key is what would it make over on the market, not just is it going up too much or down to,
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. It really just depends. I mean, would you sell it for that price? And if you're like, oh no, I know I can get more than that, then you probably want to leave your assessed value alone.
Yep.
But if it's too high, you can protest. And every county has a website that has their link on there and how you protest. And it's a one-page form. You put in your information, the reason for your protest, and And then you can also include some
At number
supporting
7.
documents.
Right there, Chad, it says, what do you think the market value should be?
Exactly. They've done this a long time. They know what questions to ask. And I recommend you get some comparables, some comparable sales, which we can help you with that. And every year we help a number of people to try to, help them have a fair market value. And a lot of times they're still low. But many times, we do see the county have assessments that are way too high. And I've seen them drop those and they're pretty reasonable to work with if you can show supporting value that they're off. So
Yeah, if there's been a recent sale in your area, a high one or something, it could affect your value. It's always about what other homes in your area are selling for. That's what value is based on. What other homes in close to you are selling for recently. So, and they use a previous year average, right? That's what they do. So just know maybe there's been sales recently that were low and you're like, it's not going to sell for that much. You could use more recent sales to combat maybe a big sale that happened a long time ago that maybe brought your value up or something. So yeah.
That talks a little bit. You said, Chad, I would warn you maybe not to protest that, because Idaho being a non-disclosure state, you don't need to tell anybody what you bought your house for, what you sold your house for. But if you want to dispute this, you're going to have to disclose some information to to the
oh
county.
yeah, they might want to walk through your house and get some updated pictures and all that. So
We have access to the private information. It's pretty tough for the public to go find enough information to dispute that and be accurate. So that's where the realtors have, it's a non-disclosure state, so we have access to that private information of what you sold your house for. That's where you should call us and get some help.
That's correct. So if anybody needs help with that, needs us to help walk them through it, we can. Of course, you can call the county as well. And I've found that the county's been pretty good at getting prices down if they're wrong. I mean, look, they have to assess every single property over 5 years. They can't spend a lot of time with every property. They try to, I think, stay a little low just because that makes their life a lot easier. But they've, definitely they make mistakes. And my experience with Bonneville County is they're pretty quick to fix them. So.
And that's just, a real estate professional isn't just here when you want to buy and sell your house. They're here to help with taxes, insurance, all of those kind of things. So please use us as a resource.
Right.
We'd love to. Yeah.
Awesome.
Love it.
Well,
Hopefully that's helpful to everybody. So
Yep.
in the end, again, just a reminder, if you've enjoyed the stats, if you like to look at the numbers and you want to look at those numbers more in depth, especially if you're looking at your tax assessment, just go mmcidaho.com, click get the newsletter, and you'll get this, or give any of us a call. Be happy to send it to you.
We have a lot more stats than what we share.
We do. There are a lot. Yep.
Because
So thanks for joining us. Tune in again next month to see how things are going.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.